It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays. And I'm wearing the Spider-Man shit shirt. This is the censored one. This is the Spider-Man thing shirt. But we are going to talk this Wellness Wednesday about something that I have seen people doing a lot lately. And this is going to be one of these videos where I have a lengthy preamble disclaimer so that people don't lose it because they feel called out and miss the underlying message that this is a common thing. If you see it in yourself, it doesn't mean you're a bad person or you've done anything bad. It just means if you want to get better results in your conversations with people, keep this in mind. Okay? So do the help support this channel and then do the lengthy preamble. Help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. If you see yourself in this video, I recommend signing up for a Leanna Care session to talk it out because individual reasons vary on this one. And it is something I had to stop doing myself. Because, and this is why I'm hyper aware of it, because I had to stop doing it myself. I'm very aware of when other people do it. And man, I just have a mess of shit on my desk. This is a Kleenex box. It looks like some sort of weird gaping hole, like whatever. Why is this here? But anyway, see, decisive. And so what I'm talking about is the whole, someone says you're doing blank. Like you are being aggressive, for instance, or you are being hypocritical, or you're being whatever. Like insert blank here. I'm trying not to use trigger words. You are being peanut butter, right? And you say, I'm not trying to be peanut butter. And then you just continue. Like I said, I used to do this myself. The likelihood that you are going to continue doing the thing the person just identified as an issue for them and therefore violating their boundaries is very high if you keep continuing, if you don't recognize what caused that in response. And I'm not trying to be, say, argumentative, for instance, is an example of, can you please stop being argumentative? I'll have to end the conversation if you do. I'm not trying to be argumentative. You're just wrong. That's an extreme example, right? But I'm not trying to be argumentative. Okay. I got this from a guy named Jeff Pereira. Check him out online. The best way to prove you are not trying to be something is understand how you're coming across that way. So I'm not trying to be argumentative. What seemed argumentative? If you do anything but that, I'm not trying to be. I'm just going to charge right forward. You will not get a good result. I guarantee you, because I did not. It is a combination fight response. And that may, as a reformed, like, insta-fighter, the fawn-fight combo is possibly the most toxic panic response out there. Because internally you're freaking out. Outside you just seem like you're just a bully. And see, the difference between the Kratos response of a single word answer, which is what I ended up, well... This is a long story because my immediate reaction is very few words. And I was told that was rude and, quite frankly, unfeminine. And so I started adding more explanations to my inner process. So the hardwired fight response I have, because I grew up in kind of a rough neighborhood, in a kind of rough household. No, a very rough household. But that fight response... You know, someone comes at me, I come right back. Combined with the need to explain so I will not be misunderstood just made me look like a giant gaping bleeding sphincter. Okay, sorry for the image, but I'm saying this, I used to do this. And when someone is giving you the gift of telling you how you're coming across. If you have abuse in your past, it's very easy to read that gift as criticism. It may be both, but it is still a gift. Treat it as the gift it is. Someone respects you enough to tell you how you're coming across instead of just assuming you are an asshole. Accept the gift. What do we do when we accept a gift? We say thank you, right? It may not feel good to hear that say you are being argumentative when you feel like you're fighting for your life. But someone bothering to tell you how you're coming across is very, very, very useful to you. Even if it's not in good faith, think about it tactically, okay? Logic. Someone's saying, you are being this. You may disagree with them. A lot of the time I disagree with people. Sorry, that peaked there. A lot of the time I disagree with how people characterize my actions. Often they're like, you're trying to do this. You're doing this deliberately. That's not what I'm talking about here. Somebody's saying you're coming across as argumentative. It's not the same message as you are being deliberately argumentative, right? One is, are you aware of how you're coming across? The argument is you totally mean to. They're not the same. Okay. Similarly, if someone says, please don't be so contradictory. Please don't be so argumentative. They're not saying it's intentional. That's somebody going uncle. Okay? When someone is giving you the opportunity to change the path of the conversation, treat that as a good faith gesture, not a trap. And here's why. Because it may be a trap. And you ignoring the warning sign means trap sprung. All right? When someone starts accusing me of deliberately doing something in a conversation, it is a very short stretch of road for me in that conversation before I take an off-ramp. Because if somebody thinks I'm doing something deliberately, they don't know me at all. I'm neurodivergent, for fuck's sake. You know, I think I'm just saying something that's kind of amusing because it's how I talk to myself. And when I go, oh, well, God, I was such an idiot there. I'm not literally calling myself an idiot. I'm laughing at myself. And so these things don't sting me the same way because I'm like, well, I'm a doofus a lot. That's okay. I think that's part of my charm. You know, sometimes I don't use enough words for things. And it's kind of funny because, yeah, that came out like super blunt. And it wasn't mean. To me, blunt is just Kratos, right? Like, no. There's a part in Elementary, you know the show Elementary, like the modern Sherlock with Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu, where they hitch a ride. I think it's a snowplow driver, but anyway, her name's Pam. And there's a whole thing about banging in the cab and hitching a ride and, like, what's your name? Pam. Okay. And so next scene, they show up and, like, one of the detectives is like, I think it was the Aidan Quinn character. Anyways, like, how'd you get here? And Sherlock just goes, Pam. He answered the question not realizing that the people there have no context of who Pam is. Right? That was just the answer. It was the most succinct answer. And the whole idea about him is he doesn't want to use brain capacity for other things. So he doesn't even learn the name of SpongeBob SquarePants. And this makes sense to me because I tend, the butterfly brain, I tend to be thinking, trying not to, but somebody says something and it's so interesting to me that it goes off in 4 different directions. So if I'm not laser focused on the immediate task, I'll jump 3 steps and not realize it. So if someone's saying you're doing something deliberately and you're not, begin to end the conversation. I'm not doing this on purpose. I will accept that that's how it landed. Please do not accuse me of, doing it deliberately again. If you are, I'm going to have to end this conversation. Set a clear boundary. Similarly, someone saying, please don't be so argumentative, for instance, or accusatory or whatever, right? It doesn't matter if you agree with the summation. That is a boundary. Respect the boundary. If you don't understand, ask. Remember I said, Jesus, popped again. Remember I said, if you think it's a trap, all the more reason to not charge forward, because it might be. Because if they're setting that up and you think it's in bad faith, well, continuing to charge forward is just giving them ammo against you, right? So don't do it. Stop. Find out what they mean by the claim in question. You know, the deliberate cruelty squad. It's like, how am I being cruel? And they'll quote something I said, and it's like, okay, how's that deliberate and not me just messing up? Well, in my opinion, it was deliberate. That's them not going, okay, you're right. I can't know what's in your head. Time to end the conversation. But if the person says, you know, it's coming across as this, as argumentative or cruel or mean or whatever, it's like, all right, what is it? And they'll say, like, okay, you did this. That's your opportunity to go, okay, I had no intention to be mean or argumentative or anything like that. I will try, because this is new for me, but I will try to avoid that language going forward. That is doing yourself a favor as well as doing the other person a favor. And this is very, very important to recognize that that is a gift you give yourself. Because if you charge forward for, they're trying to trick me. Well, they're not. They're giving you a clear yellow light. You're blowing past it. If you get into a wreck because you didn't slow down and you ended up going through a red, that's really on you, not the other person, even if it was something of a trap. People who are actually trying to trap you don't give you those warnings, but so many people think, oh no, this is a trap because of wokeness and political correctness and DEI, whatever. It doesn't matter. If someone is bothering to tell you a point of conversation that they are finding off-putting and you don't listen, you just go, I'm not trying to be this, and you keep going, that is when a problem that's not your fault leads to a mistake that is. And there is another way. But people get so hung up on needing to be heard, needing to be understood. And it's a great malaise of our time, the needing to be heard, needing to be understood, needing to express yourself. Now, I'm an introvert, so saying expressing yourself is overrated, bias declared, I'm an introvert. But I tend not to terribly care much about anymore. This was not the case historically. But I was a real asshole in the past, being obsessed with being understood. Once I accepted that I'm probably not going to be, except for a very select handful of people, I got a lot happier because I'm good with that select handful of people. I'm grateful for that small group that does understand me because I know most of the world doesn't. And that's enough for me. And, you know, you're not going to be... you're not going to be understood by the masses. Not likely, because 50% of the masses have some sort of political agenda that means warping your words, right? The other 50% have their own framing on things and their own insecurities. And anything you say is more likely to be misunderstood than understood. And once you learn that and slow the fuck down, you will be a much better communicator. And I know that you may think this is crazy pants based on what you watch on YouTube, and worse, TikTok. And why do I say worse, TikTok? Well, TikTok is short subject. You have to make your point. You have to get into your point in the first 3 seconds of a TikTok, or someone will skip it. So that automatically cultivates a bunch of hot takes that are more about making a point fast than making a point accurately. And that's why Megan, my social media manager, she does my TikTok because I suck at it. I like long, complex, 48-minute podcast, 30-minute YouTube videos. This is my interest because anybody can go, oh, well, don't say this. When someone says you're being argumentative, well, just accept that you are. No. That's not what I believe. I do believe that it's fact that there are multiple communication styles. I happen to have a particularly rare one. Part of it is whatever you think this appearance is, whether you think this is an old, fat, ugly lady or some other kind of lady, you still see lady. And that means there's an expectation of some sort of feminized communication style that I do not have. Therefore, people think I am bitchy and angry when I am not. And I cannot change this. I just have to accept it. And similarly, men, especially men with deeper voices, you gotta watch being perceived as condescending when you're talking to women. For instance, is any of this fair? Fuck no. It just is. And you're not being fair to yourself if you just ignore it on principle. And that's what I'm not trying to be bitchy, going forward is you're ignoring the feedback on principle because it feels unfair and you disagree with it. But the problem is you then walk right into the buzzsaw. And at that point, if someone gives you the respect of a warning and you don't take it, that's when it stops being on them and starts being on you. And it's interesting to me how many people pull that, you're doing a bad thing, Leanna, and then are surprised when I end the conversation. And this is, and they get very, very offended when I end the conversation. But to me, if I don't know how I'm doing the bad thing, and they're insistent that I am doing the bad thing, especially when they're claiming I'm doing it deliberately, well, the only way to guarantee I stop doing the bad thing is to end the conversation, right? That's just considerate. And at that point, if they don't get it and they warp that, well, that's on them, not me. And this is not a person I'm going to give more of my time to. But if I continue, if I choose to walk into the buzzsaw, I can't complain that I got cut. And I see a lot of people, what, some of my friends call deep in victimhood, who want to walk into the buzzsaw there and not get cut. And that's just not the way life works. You have to remember that the person you're having the conversation with in that moment probably isn't the person who hurt you and lacks context to your strong reaction. And taking it out on them isn't defending yourself. You're taking out something that isn't that person's fault on them. And that's not fair. And that's a big benefit of actually doing work on your trauma, is you recognize that not every person that sounds like your abuser or abusers is abusing you. Because a lot of abusers use phrases that are on the surface totally innocuous and harmless, but they build it up so it's a dog whistle. You hear the attack, no one else does. and for your own sake, you have to unlearn the habits that abuse taught you. And it's not easy, but it is worthwhile. Because again, it's not being fair to yourself to ignore those warnings and run into, especially in the age where people screen grab things and put them on the internet out of context. You know, if you think that person's trying to trap me, all the reason to stop talking. Like, that is such a distorted thinking that I see all the time. So you just accused me of being argumentative and I have to defend myself because you're wrong. Well, you're being argumentative there. Sometimes the best defense against something is not fighting, it's stopping. Because if somebody's accusing you of being argumentative and you go, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to be that way. How did I come across that way? Well, that's the opposite of being argumentative, isn't it? And I think people know that you can't go, no, I wasn't. And so they settle on, I didn't mean to. And I've heard from people, and these people have all been men, and I'm not, and I know women. This is the reason I hate the Britney Spears song, Oops, I Did It Again. Right? Oops, I did it again. I played with your heart, got lost in the game. Oh, baby, and she's got thing like, I am a monster speaking backwards. It's not just the voice. You know, it's like, I'm not that innocent. Oops. Written by a man. Like, what? Oops, I did it again. I played with your heart. Like, oops, it was an accident. It's like, oh, fuck you. You did not get lost in the game. You are getting off on fucking with dudes, right? Assuming it's dudes. I mean, it is Britney, right? But, I mean, okay. It was written by Max Martin. I think that was a Max Martin song. Anyway, it's not important. I hate that song because it's a banger, but it's toxic as shit. And that's another of Britney's songs. Don't you know that I'm toxic? Like, talk about trying to lampshade her image, right? And it's not okay to just go, oops, I did it again. I played with your heart. That's what you're doing. And I'm not intending to be, or I'm not trying to be. If that's true, fucking stop. Britney, stop playing with guys' hearts. It hasn't worked out for you. People going, I'm not intending to. Stop. Whatever you're doing, stop. The best way to show that you don't intend to, you don't mean to, you're not intending to come across that way is slow down and find out what's giving that impression. Because if it's not a conversational deal breaker, then it's more effective and better for you to just sidestep it, find another way to communicate. And if your need to feel heard is so strong that you cannot do that because you just have to say it, right? That suggests some pretty profound unresolved trauma that you deserve to be free of, which takes work. It can take years of work. But, and it, in many ways, it's a lifelong thing, but it does keep getting better and better and better. But you deserve to be free of that. And you can start today. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Oh God, I'm peeking all over the place. Thanks for watching and be well.